If you have a jar of old wheat pennies sitting in a drawer, there's one date you may want to look at a little closer. The 1941 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. At first glance, it looks ordinary, but verified auction records show that certain examples of this coin have reached unusually strong prices, especially in high grades or with specific characteristics. Not every 1941 penny is valuable, but some have quietly delivered life-changing sale results for select examples. And that's exactly why collectors still pay attention. The 1941 Lincoln cent is part of the classic wheat penny series featuring President Abraham Lincoln on the front and two wheat stalks on the reverse. It was struck during a tense period in American history, just months before the United States entered World War II. Coins from this era were heavily circulated, used daily in a growing economy. That historical backdrop adds lasting interest. Now here's where many people get confused. When a 1941 penny has no mint mark, it does not mean it is rare by default. It simply means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which at that time did not use a mint mark on cents. In fact, Philadelphia produced over 887 million Lincoln cents in 1941. That is a large number. So why do collectors still focus on this date? Condition, quality, and subtle details. This is where a small difference can completely change interest. Most 1941 no-mint mark pennies you find in circulation today are well-worn. In heavily circulated condition, they typically sell for only a few cents to a couple of dollars. But when you move into higher grades, especially coins graded mint state by respected third-party services, values can rise dramatically. A sharply struck 1941 penny with strong luster, minimal marks, and full wheat lines on the reverse can command significantly higher prices. Certified examples graded MS-65 and above have sold for hundreds of dollars. And in rare cases, superb gem examples have crossed into the thousands at major auctions. That's the hidden financial potential collectors quietly watch. Here's a detail collectors quietly watch. Original red color. Lincoln cents from this era were made of 95% copper. When freshly struck, they had a bright reddish tone. Over time, exposure to air causes them to darken to brown. Coins that retain their original red color, especially in high grades, often bring much stronger premiums than brown examples. The difference between red, red-brown, and brown can completely change buyer interest. Now let's talk about varieties. While the standard 1941 no mint mark is common in lower grades, there are minor double die varieties and repunched mint mark varieties associated with other mints that specialists track. Even small doubling in the date or lettering can add collector demand. This is where many people get confused. Not every blurry letter is a valuable error. True double dies show clear, separated impressions created during the die-making process, not simple wear or damage. Another factor is strike quality. Some 1941 pennies show weak details in Lincoln's hair or the wheat stalks. Others are fully struck with crisp lines. Advanced collectors often pay more for sharply struck coins, even within the same numerical grade. That subtle distinction can influence auction competition. Let's talk realistic values. In circulated grades such as very fine or extremely fine, a 1941 no mint mark penny may range from a few cents to a few dollars depending on eye appeal. In about uncirculated condition, it might bring several dollars. In certified mint state grades like MS-63 or MS-64, prices can range from around $20 to over $100. Move into MS-65 red, and auction results have reached several $100s. At the very top of the grading scale, elite examples have achieved life-changing sale results for select examples, especially when two serious collectors compete. But most coins do not fall into that category, and that's important for credibility. This difference can completely change interest. Cleaning. Many owners mistakenly clean their old pennies, thinking they are improving them. In reality, cleaning almost always reduces value. Harshly cleaned coins lose their natural surface and are often rejected by serious buyers. Even a high-grade coin can lose much of its market appeal if it has been improperly cleaned. Here's another mistake. Selling too quickly without understanding grade. A coin that looks average at first glance might have sharp detail and original surfaces that justify professional grading. Patient sellers who take time to research sometimes discover unexpected income simply because they understood what they had. This is where knowledge becomes power. The 1941 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is not rare in raw numbers. But condition rarity is very real. The number of surviving coins in pristine, original, high-grade condition is far smaller than the original mintage suggests. That's where quiet wealth discovery can happen to us. So what should you do? First, carefully examine your 1941 pennies under good lighting. Look for strong detail in Lincoln's hair and jawline. Check the wheat stalks for full lines. Observe the color. Is it bright red, red-brown, or dark brown? Avoid cleaning. If the coin appears unusually sharp and lustrous, consider consulting a reputable coin dealer or researching recent certified auction sales for comparison. And remember, patience matters more than speed. The people who benefit most from coins like the 1941 Lincoln penny are often those who learn before they sell. Before you move on, check your coin jar, your inherited collections, and those old albums tucked away in closets. That ordinary-looking penny dated 1941 with no mint mark might simply be common change. Or it could hold hidden financial potential depending on condition and preservation. If you found this helpful, continue exploring other Lincoln wheat penny dates that have surprised collectors over the years. The more you understand, the better decisions you make. In coin collecting, knowledge and patience consistently outperform luck. If you've ever glanced at a worn 1944 penny and almost tossed it back into a jar, you may want to pause for a moment. Because while millions of 1944 Lincoln cents are common, a small number of verified examples have produced unusually high sale results. And when it comes to the 1944 with no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, there's a detail that has kept collectors quietly searching for decades. We're talking about the 1944 Lincoln cent from the United States Mint, struck during the height of World War II. Most 1944 pennies without a mint mark were produced in Philadelphia, and at that time, Philadelphia coins did not carry a mint mark. So no mint mark in 1944 typically means it was made there. But this is where history makes things interesting. In 1943, pennies were struck in steel to conserve copper for the war effort. In 1944, the mint returned to copper-based metal, using recycled shell casings. So most 1944 pennies are made from a bronze alloy and have a reddish-brown appearance. This is where many people get confused. They assume all 1944 pennies are the same. They're not. The majority of 1944 no-mint mark cents are common. In circulated condition, they often trade for just a few cents to a few dollars depending on where. Even in nice uncirculated condition, many examples range from modest values into perhaps the $20 to $50 range when certified at higher grades. Solid, but not extraordinary. However, here's a detail collectors quietly watch. A tiny number of 1944 pennies were mistakenly struck on leftover steel planchets from 1943. These rare 1944 steel cents, including some without a mint mark from Philadelphia, are among the most talked about error coins in American numismatics. This difference can completely change interest. A genuine 1944 steel cent will stick to a magnet. A normal 1944 bronze cent will not. That simple magnet test is often the first step. But it's not proof by itself because altered coins exist. Some copper 1944 cents have been plated to look silver. Others have been tampered with to mimic rare varieties. This is where careful verification matters. Authenticated 1944 steel cents without a mint mark have sold for dramatic sums at major auction houses such as Heritage Auctions. In top certified grades, select examples have reached into 5 figures and beyond. For the right coin in the right condition with proper documentation, there have been life-changing sale results for select examples. But again, those are extremely rare. So what separates common coins from those with hidden financial potential? Condition is everything. Collectors use grading standards that measure wear, luster, strike quality, and surface preservation. A heavily worn 1944 bronze cent may be worth very little, but a sharply struck, fully read uncirculated example, professionally graded by a respected service, can command significantly more than face value. This is where many people get confused again. They focus only on the date, not the surface quality. Scratches, cleaning, or polishing can dramatically reduce value. One of the biggest mistakes owners make is trying to improve the coin by cleaning it. Even light cleaning can leave hairlines that trained buyers instantly detect. That single decision can turn a promising coin into a discounted one. Here's another detail collectors quietly watch. Color designation. 1944 bronze cents are often labeled brown, red-brown, or red by grading services. A full red coin with original mint luster is typically more desirable than a dull brown example. This difference can completely change interest, especially in higher grades. There are also minor varieties, including double dyes and repunched mint marks on coins from other mints like Denver and San Francisco. While we're focusing on the no mint mark Philadelphia issue, it's important to compare carefully and confirm exactly what you have. Small design differences under magnification can influence collector demand. Now let's talk realistic numbers. A typical circulated 1944 no-mint mark bronze cent might range from a few cents to a couple of dollars. A certified mint state example could range from tens of dollars into the low hundreds depending on grade and color. A confirmed 1944 steel cent without a mint mark, authenticated and graded, can move into the thousands or far beyond depending on condition and market timing. That's where the quiet wealth discovery stories come from. But patience matters. Many high-value coins were discovered years after being stored in jars, drawers, or inherited collections. Sellers who take time to verify authenticity, avoid cleaning, and consult reputable dealers or grading services sometimes uncover unexpected income. Not guaranteed, not common, but possible. This is where careful attention pays off. Use a magnet test gently. Weigh the coin if you can. A bronze cent should weigh about 3.11 grams, while a steel cent is closer to 2.7 grams. If something unusual appears, consider professional authentication before making assumptions. The 1944 no-mint mark Lincoln penny represents a fascinating intersection of wartime history, minting transitions, and rare error possibilities. Most are ordinary. A few are extraordinary. And knowing the difference is what separates casual curiosity from informed decision-making. Before you dismiss that old 1944 penny, take a closer look. Check the color. Test it carefully with a magnet. Examine the surfaces under good light. Because while most will remain simple keepsakes, a select few hold hidden financial potential that has already surprised collectors in the past. If you found this helpful, consider watching another one of our deep dives into valuable Lincoln cents. The more you understand, the better your decisions become. In coin collecting, knowledge and patience matter far more than speed. And sometimes, the smallest coin in your hand carries the biggest story. If you've ever wondered whether an old penny sitting in a jar could hold more than just sentimental value, today's story may surprise you. The 1945 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is one of those coins that looks completely ordinary at first glance. But under the right conditions, certain examples have achieved unusually strong sale prices. Not every coin will reach that level, but a small number of verified pieces have delivered life-changing sale results for select examples. And that possibility is exactly why collectors still pay attention to this date. The 1945 Lincoln penny was struck during the final year of World War II. By this time, the U.S. Mint had returned to using a copper alloy composition after the steel cents of 1943. These 1945 cents were made primarily of copper recovered from spent ammunition shell casings. When you hold one, you're holding a small piece of American wartime history connected to President Abraham Lincoln and the era that shaped modern America. Now, here's a detail collectors quietly watch. A 1945 penny with no mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During that time, Philadelphia did not place a mint mark on its cents. So if you don't see a small D for Denver or S for San Francisco under the date, you're looking at a Philadelphia issue. This is where many people get confused. They assume that no mint mark automatically means rare. In reality, Philadelphia produced over 1 billion pennies in 1945. That means most examples are common. But common does not mean worthless. Condition is everything. The majority of 1945 no-mint mark pennies found in circulation today trade for only a few cents to a few dollars depending on where. Heavily circulated coins with fading details are typically modest in value. However, as condition improves, interest increases sharply. Coins graded in higher uncirculated ranges by professional services have sold for significantly stronger prices. In top certified grades, especially with rich original red color, some examples have crossed into the hundreds or even low thousands of dollars at auction. This difference can completely change interest. A brown, worn coin pulled from circulation is one category. A sharply struck, fully red, mint-state example preserved for decades is another category entirely. Collectors compete aggressively for coins that appear as close as possible to the day they were struck. Here's another detail collectors quietly watch: luster and surface quality. Many 1945 cents show contact marks, dull surfaces, or dark toning. Coins with smooth fields, minimal spots, and strong eye appeal tend to command premiums. Even subtle differences in color designation, such as brown, red-brown, or full red, can dramatically affect value. This is where many people get confused again. Some believe cleaning a coin will improve its appearance and value. In reality, cleaning almost always reduces collector interest. Harsh wiping, polishing, or chemical treatment leaves microscopic scratches and unnatural shine. Once altered, the original surface cannot be restored. Many potentially valuable coins have lost hidden financial potential because of improper cleaning. Beyond regular issues, collectors also search for error varieties. Off-center strikes, die cracks, and repunched mint marks on Denver or San Francisco issues attract specialized buyers. While major errors on 1945 Philadelphia cents are not common, authenticated mint errors can bring strong premiums depending on severity and eye appeal. This is where careful examination pays off. Let's talk realistic value ranges. A typical circulated 1945 no-mint mark penny may range from a few cents up to a few dollars. An uncirculated example with average quality might range from modest double-digit values upward. Certified high-grade red examples, especially in the highest tiers, have achieved impressive auction results. These are not everyday finds, but they do exist. And when they appear, they can create quiet wealth discovery moments for patient owners. This difference can completely change interest. Two coins with the same date can have dramatically different market reactions based solely on preservation. That's why serious buyers rely on third-party grading from respected companies. Authentication and condition verification add confidence, and confidence brings stronger bids. Another mistake owners make is selling too quickly without understanding the market. Some people accept the first offer they receive at a local shop without comparing recent auction records. While many dealers are honest professionals, knowledge always strengthens your position. Checking completed sales, understanding grade differences, and seeking multiple opinions can reveal unexpected income opportunities. This is where patience matters. The coin market moves in cycles. Demand for classic Lincoln cents often rises when new collectors enter the hobby or when precious metal prices gain attention. Sellers who wait for strong market conditions sometimes see better outcomes than those who rush. The 1945 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is not a guaranteed treasure. It is a historical coin with a wide value range. For most people, it will represent modest worth. But for a select few who discover high-grade or exceptional examples, the results can be surprisingly strong. And that possibility keeps collectors searching rolls, estate collections, and old family jars year after year. So take a careful look at your own pennies. Examine the date. Check for a mint mark. Study the condition under good lighting. Avoid cleaning anything that appears promising. If a coin looks unusually sharp or vibrant, consider professional evaluation before making any decisions. Knowledge and patience matter more than speed. The difference between an ordinary coin and one with hidden financial potential often comes down to small details most people overlook. And if you're curious about other Lincoln cents that have created major auction headlines, make sure to watch the next video in this series. Your next quiet wealth discovery could already be sitting in your collection. If you have a jar of old pennies tucked away somewhere in your home, there's one date you need to pay very close attention to tonight. The 1950 mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. At first glance, it looks like just another copper coin from the middle of the 20th century. But in certain conditions, verified examples of this coin have brought surprisingly strong prices at auction. Not every piece is valuable, and there are no guarantees in coin collecting. But for select examples, this small cent has represented a quiet wealth discovery for patient owners who understood what they were holding. The 1950D Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint during a time when America was stepping into a new decade. The coin still featured the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a design introduced in 1909. On the reverse, you'll find the familiar wheat ears, part of the long-running wheat cent series that ended in 1958. By 1950, these coins were composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving them that rich brown or red tone collectors look for today. So why does the 1950D get attention? This is where many people get confused. The total mintage was over 330 million coins. That's not rare in the traditional sense. In fact, millions still exist. But value in coins doesn't come only from mintage numbers. It comes from condition, preservation, and subtle details that most people overlook. Here's a detail collectors quietly watch. The color designation. When a 1950D penny is graded by a major service, it may receive a color label such as brown, red-brown, or full red. A fully red example, meaning it has retained most of its original mint luster and bright copper color, can command dramatically stronger interest than a darker circulated piece. This difference can completely change interest from buyers. In worn, circulated condition, most 1950D pennies trade for just a few cents to a couple of dollars depending on eye appeal. That's the honest reality. But as the grade climbs into mint state territory, especially MS65 and above, values increase sharply. Certified high-grade examples with strong strike and original red surfaces have sold for hundreds of dollars. In rare cases at the very top of the grading scale, auction records show life-changing sale results for select examples, especially when registry collectors compete for the finest known pieces. Now let's talk about varieties. This is where many people miss opportunity. While the 1950D is not famous for a major double die like some other years, collectors still examine it for repunched mint marks, subtle die cracks, and strike quality. A clear, bold D under the date is standard. But if you notice irregular shaping or what appears to be extra metal around the mint mark, it could warrant closer inspection. Here's a detail collectors quietly watch. Strong separation in lettering and unusually sharp wheat lines on the reverse. Coins with crisp details often signal minimal handling. Condition is everything. A coin pulled from circulation with scratches, cleaning marks, or dull surfaces will struggle to gain serious collector attention. And this is where many people accidentally reduce value. Cleaning a 1950D penny, even gently, can permanently damage its surface. That bright shine you see after polishing may look appealing at first, but to experienced buyers, it signals altered metal and lost originality. Once that original surface is disturbed, the hidden financial potential often disappears. Another common mistake is improper storage. Copper reacts to moisture and air. Storing coins in damp basements or loose jars can lead to spotting and corrosion. Collectors quietly watch for even natural toning instead of blotchy discoloration. This difference can completely change interest when a coin is submitted for grading. Let's talk realistic numbers again. A typical circulated 1950D might bring pocket change. A nice uncirculated brown example could range from modest double-digit prices upward. A sharply struck, certified MS66 red coin? That's where three-figure territory becomes possible. And at the highest certified levels, where populations drop dramatically, competition can push results far beyond what most people expect from a 1-cent coin. But remember, these outcomes apply to select coins in exceptional condition. The key is knowledge, patience, and verification. Serious collectors rely on professional grading services to authenticate and assign condition. That plastic holder with an official grade can dramatically increase buyer confidence compared to a raw coin sold online without certification. Here's what separates everyday finds from potential standouts. Luster that flows smoothly across the surface. Strong, undisturbed fields without hairline scratches. Full detail in Lincoln's hair and the wheat stalks. And most importantly, originality. Coins that have simply been stored carefully for decades sometimes reveal unexpected quality when examined under proper lighting. Some of the most interesting stories in coin collecting come from individuals who inherited small collections and took the time to research before selling. Instead of rushing, they compared auction archives, studied grading standards, and sought expert opinions. That patience sometimes led to a quiet wealth discovery rather than a quick, undervalued sale. If you own a 1950D Lincoln Penny, don't assume it's common. But don't assume it's rare either. Examine it closely. Look at the mint mark. Study the color. Check for signs of cleaning. Compare it to certified examples online. This is where many people gain clarity that completely changes their expectations. In the world of coin collecting, speed rarely wins. Education and patience do. Before you cash in a jar of old pennies, take a closer look at each 1950D. One small detail could make a meaningful difference in collector interest. And if you're curious about other Lincoln cents that have shown hidden financial potential over the years, make sure you continue learning. There are other dates and mint marks that collectors quietly watch for very specific reasons. Knowledge protects you, patience positions you, and sometimes a simple penny from 1950 becomes far more interesting than anyone in that decade could have imagined. If you have a jar of old pennies sitting in a drawer, this might be the year you want to look for. The 1951 Lincoln penny with no mint mark has quietly captured the attention of collectors for decades. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary, but verified examples of this coin in the right condition have sold for surprisingly strong prices. Not every coin is valuable, yet some have delivered life-changing sale results for select examples. The question is simple. Do you know what to look for? The 1951 Lincoln cent was struck during a time when America was adjusting to the post-World War II economy. The coin features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design introduced in 1909. On the back, you'll see the classic wheat ears, because this coin belongs to the famous wheat cent series produced from 1909 to 1958. Now here's where many people get confused. When we say no mint mark, we are not talking about an error. In 1951, pennies were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint. Coins from Denver carry a small d. Coins from San Francisco carry an S. But coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint did not use a mint mark at all. So a 1951 penny without a mint mark simply means it was made in Philadelphia. Philadelphia struck over 284 million of these coins that year. That sounds like a massive number, and it is. This is why most 1951 no mint mark pennies in worn, circulated condition are worth only a modest premium over face value. Typically, circulated examples sell for a few cents to perhaps a couple of dollars depending on condition. But this is where collectors quietly watch for something different. Condition changes everything. A heavily worn 1951 penny is common. But a sharply struck, bright red example that has never entered circulation is a different story. Coins graded in mint state condition by respected services like PCGS or NGC can command significantly higher prices. In lower mint state grades, values might range from $20 to $50. In higher grades, especially with full original red color, prices can climb into the hundreds. And in rare cases, top population examples have achieved far stronger results at auction. This difference can completely change interest. The color designation matters. Brown coins are usually the least valuable. Red-brown coins sit in the middle. Full red coins with vibrant original luster attract the strongest demand. Even tiny spots, fingerprints, or improper cleaning can dramatically reduce value. Here's a detail collectors quietly watch. Strike quality. Some 1951 Philadelphia cents show softer details in Lincoln's hair or in the wheat stalks on the reverse. Sharply defined lines, strong lettering, and minimal marks can separate an ordinary coin from one that stands out in a competitive auction environment. Another factor is varieties. While the 1951 no mint mark penny is not famous for dramatic errors like some earlier double dies, minor die variations do exist. Serious collectors examine lettering, date placement, and subtle doubling under magnification. Most examples show no major variety, but the possibility keeps specialists searching. This is where many people get confused again. Cleaning a coin to improve its appearance almost always reduces its value. Harsh polishing removes original mint luster. Even light rubbing can leave hairline scratches visible under grading lights. A coin that might have qualified for a high mint state grade can drop significantly if altered. Patience and preservation matter far more than shine. realistic value ranges are important. In circulated grades, expect modest returns. In average uncirculated grades, values are stronger but still accessible to collectors. It is only in the highest certified grades with strong eye appeal and original red color that we start seeing the kind of hidden financial potential that gets attention. These are not everyday finds, but they do exist. Another mistake owners make is ignoring storage. Humidity, PVC holders, and improper handling can damage surfaces over time. Holding the coin by its edges and storing it in a dry, inert holder helps protect whatever value it has today and whatever it might have tomorrow. So why does this coin still attract interest if so many were made? Because serious collectors building complete wheat cent sets need high-grade examples. As time passes, fewer pristine coins survive. Attrition, mishandling, and environmental damage reduce the available supply of top-quality pieces. That steady demand combined with limited high-grade survivors creates the possibility for quiet wealth discovery. This difference can completely change interest again. Two coins with the same date and no mint mark can have dramatically different outcomes depending on grade, color, and eye appeal. One might be worth pocket change. Another might bring hundreds under the right circumstances. And here's something experienced sellers understand. Patient selling often matters more than fast selling. Choosing the right venue, obtaining professional grading when justified, and waiting for the right buyer can sometimes unlock stronger results. Not guaranteed, not instant, but informed decisions create opportunity. Before you dismiss your 1951 penny, take a closer look. Check for the absence of a mint mark under the date. Examine the color. Look at the sharpness of Lincoln's hair and the wheat lines on the reverse. Avoid cleaning it. If it appears unusually sharp and bright, consider professional evaluation. Knowledge and patience matter more than speed in coin collecting. The 1951 no-mint mark Lincoln penny may not make everyone rich, but select examples have demonstrated meaningful sale results. And the only way to know what you have is to look carefully. So tonight, open that jar. Check those old rolls. And if you want to continue exploring other Lincoln cents with surprising stories and hidden financial potential, make sure you watch the next video. Because sometimes the smallest coin in your collection holds the biggest lesson. If you've ever glanced at a 1952 penny and almost tossed it back into a jar, you might want to pause for a moment. Because some verified examples of the 1952 D mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny have sold for surprisingly strong prices, especially in exceptional condition. Not every coin is rare. Not every coin is valuable. But certain examples have delivered what collectors call life-changing sale results for select examples. And today we're breaking down exactly why. The 1952 D Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint during a steady post-war era in American history. The design features Abraham Lincoln on the front, created by Victor David Brenner, and the classic wheat ears on the reverse. These are commonly called wheat pennies, part of the long-running Lincoln cent series that began in 1909. Now here's where many people get confused. The 1952 D is not considered a rare date by mintage alone. In fact, the Denver Mint struck over 700 million of them. That's a large number. So why do collectors still pay attention to this coin? The answer comes down to condition, quality, and specific details that most owners overlook. Here's a detail collectors quietly watch. Surface preservation. Most 1952 D pennies circulated heavily. They were used in everyday transactions, stored loosely in drawers, dropped into vending machines, and spent countless times. That means the majority show wear, dull color, scratches, and contact marks. But a small percentage survived in exceptional condition. This difference can completely change interest. A heavily worn 1952 D penny in circulated condition might trade for just a few cents above face value. Even a nice brown, uncirculated example might sell in the $5 to $15 range. But when you move into higher mint state grades, especially coins with strong luster, sharp detail, and original red color, the value climbs significantly. Certified examples graded MS65 red by respected grading companies have sold for well over $100. And in even finer preservation, especially with full red surfaces and minimal marks, prices have reached several $100s at auction. That's the quiet wealth discovery many collectors talk about, not because the coin is rare, but because truly high-grade survivors are far less common than the mintage suggests. But condition isn't the only factor. This is where many people get confused again. They assume any 1952D with a mint mark is special. In reality, collectors look closely at strike quality and eye appeal. Some Denver-minted coins from this era show weaker strikes, particularly in Lincoln's hair details and the wheat lines on the reverse. A sharply struck example with crisp lines and bold lettering draws stronger buyer interest. Another important factor is color designation. Copper coins are often categorized as brown, red-brown, or red. Full red coins, meaning they retain most of their original mint color, are significantly more desirable. That color alone can double or triple value at higher grades. Here's a detail collectors quietly watch: the D mint mark itself. On genuine 1952D pennies, the mint mark should appear cleanly punched, properly aligned, and consistent with known examples. Altered coins exist where mint marks are added to increase perceived value. Authentication and certification can protect sellers from costly mistakes. Now let's talk realistic numbers that uncirculated grades. Most 1952D pennies range from a few cents up to a couple of dollars, depending on where. In uncirculated mint states 63 to 64, values may range from $20 to $60 depending on color. In MS65 red condition, auction results have crossed into the low hundreds. Exceptional specimens with superb eye appeal can go even higher, especially when two determined buyers compete. But here's something many owners overlook. Cleaning a coin can destroy much of its potential value. Polishing, rubbing, or using chemicals to improve appearance often leaves hairline scratches or unnatural shine that grading services detect immediately. This single mistake has cost sellers thousands of dollars over time across the coin market. This difference can completely change interest. Another common mistake is improper storage. Copper is sensitive to air, moisture, and handling. Fingerprints can permanently stain the surface. Experienced collectors handle coins by the edges only and store them in protective holders. So why does the 1952D continue to attract attention? Because it sits in that fascinating category of common date coin with hidden financial potential in top-tier condition. It's accessible. Millions were made. Yet truly pristine examples are scarce. That balance keeps demand steady. And every year, patient sellers who take time to understand grading standards sometimes uncover unexpected income. Not because every coin is rare, not because of hype, but because knowledge reveals which examples deserve professional evaluation. Before you dismiss the pennies sitting in your drawer, check for the date 1952 and the small D beneath the year. Look closely at the color. Is there original red shine? Are Lincoln's hair details sharp? Are the wheat lines on the back clearly defined? This is where many people get confused one last time. They assume age alone creates value. In reality, condition, originality, and authentication matter far more than age. The 1952D Abraham Lincoln wheat penny is a reminder that hidden financial potential often lies in the details. A coin that appears ordinary at first glance may, under the right circumstances, represent a quiet wealth discovery. Take your time. Examine your coins carefully. Consider professional grading if your example appears unusually well preserved. And if you want to continue learning how everyday pennies have produced remarkable auction results for select examples, watch our next video on another overlooked Lincoln cent date. Because in coin collecting, knowledge and patience matter far more than speed. If you have a jar of old pennies sitting in a drawer, there's one date you may want to look at twice. The 1954 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. At first glance, it looks like just another copper coin from the 1950s. But here's what most people don't realize. Select verified examples of this coin have sold for surprisingly strong prices, especially in high grades or with specific characteristics. Not every 1954 D penny is rare, but some have shown real hidden financial potential. The 1954 D Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint during the presidency of Dwight D. Eisenhower, a time when America was growing fast after World War II. These coins were part of the long-running Lincoln Wheat series, first introduced in 1909. On the front, you see Abraham Lincoln's profile. On the back, the classic wheat ears design that ended in 1958. The small D under the date tells you it was minted in Denver. Now this is where many people get confused. The 1954 D penny had a very large mintage, over 250 million coins struck. That means most examples you find in circulation are common. In worn condition, many are worth only a few cents above face value. But condition changes everything. Here's a detail collectors quietly watch. Luster, original mint red color, and surface preservation. A heavily circulated 1954 D penny with scratches and dark toning might only bring 3 to 10 cents. But a bright, fully red example with minimal marks? That's a completely different story. In certified mint state grades, especially MS65 red and higher, values can jump dramatically into the hundreds of dollars. And in rare top population grades, auction records have shown life-changing sale results for select examples. This difference can completely change interest from buyers. The majority of 1954 D cents were handled, spent, and stored without care. Finding one that survived untouched with blazing red color and sharp detail is much harder than people expect. Another factor collectors pay attention to is strike quality. Some Denver Mint coins from the 1950s show weaker strikes, especially in Lincoln's hair and the wheat lines on the reverse. Strongly struck coins with crisp detail often draw stronger offers. This is where patient sellers sometimes discover unexpected income. What looks ordinary under casual inspection may reveal sharp detail under proper lighting. Composition also matters. The 1954 D Lincoln cent is made primarily of 95% copper, with small amounts of tin and zinc. That copper composition gives it weight and a distinctive sound. But cleaning that copper is one of the biggest mistakes owners make. This is critical. Cleaning a coin to make it look shiny almost always reduces its value. Collectors prefer natural surfaces, even if lightly toned. Once a coin is polished or chemically treated, its appeal drops fast. Here's another area where many people get confused. Brown versus red. Brown versus red. Professional grading services classify copper coins by color. A brown coin has mostly darkened over time. Red-brown has partial original color. Red means the coin retains nearly all its original mint color. The price difference between brown and red can be dramatic, even at the same numerical grade. This difference can completely change interest and final sale price. While major error varieties are not widely known for the 1954 D specifically, collectors still look for off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, and repunched mint marks. Minor errors may not bring huge premiums, but strong, visible errors authenticated by reputable grading companies can attract serious attention. Now let's talk realistic numbers. In circulated grades like good to extremely fine, you're generally looking at a small premium, often under $1. In about uncirculated condition, perhaps a few dollars. But in mint state grades, especially MS64, MS65, and above with full red color, values can range from strong double digits into several $100s depending on eye appeal and certification. At the very top of the grading scale, population rarity becomes the driving force behind price. This is where knowledge becomes more important than speed. Many people rush to sell without checking condition carefully. Others store coins loosely in bags, causing scratches that permanently limit grade potential. Small marks can mean the difference between a modest return and a quiet wealth discovery. If you believe you may have a high-grade 1954 D penny, consider handling it by the edges only. Store it in a non-PVC holder. And if it appears nearly flawless, researching professional grading may be worth your time. Authentication and grading provide buyer confidence, and confidence drives stronger offers. The key message here is balance. Most 1954 D Lincoln pennies are common. But exceptional examples exist. And those exceptional coins are the ones that create headlines, spark curiosity, and reward careful owners. So tonight, take a few minutes and check your old pennies. Look for that small D mint mark under 1954. Examine the color, the shine, the detail in Lincoln's hair and the wheat stalks. This is where patient collectors separate ordinary coins from those with hidden financial potential. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure you continue learning about other overlooked wheat pennies that have produced surprising auction results. Because in coin collecting, knowledge and patience matter far more than luck. And sometimes, the smallest coin in your collection can hold the biggest story. If you've ever picked up a 1955 penny and noticed a small D mint mark under the date, you might have wondered if it's just pocket change or something far more interesting. What most people don't realize is that certain 1955 Lincoln cents have produced unusually strong sale results over the years. And while not every coin is rare, select examples have shown what some collectors call quiet wealth discovery, the kind of hidden financial potential that only reveals itself to those who know exactly what to look for. Today we're talking about the 1955 D Mint Mark Lincoln Wheat Penny, officially known as the Lincoln Wheat Penny, struck at the Denver Mint. This coin was produced during a fascinating period in American history: post-war growth, rising consumer culture, and a booming economy. In 1955, Denver struck over 563 million cents. That sounds like a massive number, and it is. But here's where many people get confused. High mintage does not automatically mean no value. Condition, preservation, and specific varieties are what separate a common coin from one that commands serious collector attention. The 1955 D penny is composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighing 3.11 grams. On the front, you see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln. On the reverse, two wheat stalks frame the words, 1 cent. At first glance, it looks simple, but collectors quietly watch for specific details that most owners overlook. This difference can completely change interest. Grade.in heavily circulated condition. A typical 1955 D penny might trade for only a few cents to a couple of dollars, depending on eye appeal. But in uncirculated condition, coins that never entered circulation and still display strong original luster, values increase significantly. Certified mint state examples graded MS-65 or higher by respected grading services have sold for well over $100, sometimes more depending on color designation. Red examples, which retain their original copper brilliance, often bring the strongest premiums. Now here's a detail collectors quietly watch: strike quality and surface preservation. Some 1955 D pennies were weakly struck, especially around Lincoln's hair and the wheat lines. Sharply struck examples with minimal contact marks can stand out dramatically in the marketplace. This is where many people get confused again. They hear about the famous 1955 double die penny, the dramatic error with obvious doubling on the date and lettering, and assume any 1955 coin must be valuable. But that major double die variety was produced in Philadelphia without a mint mark. The 1955 D does not have that same famous doubling. However, minor repunched mint marks and subtle die varieties do exist, and advanced collectors sometimes pay premiums for clearly identified examples. Another factor that can completely change interest is color designation. Copper coins are categorized as brown, red-brown, or red. A fully red 1955 D penny stored properly for decades can bring multiples of what a brown example would sell for in the same grade. Realistic value ranges? Circulated examples typically range from a few cents up to perhaps $5 or $10 for nicer specimens. Lightly circulated or about uncirculated coins may bring more. Certified mint state coins can range from around $40 to over $200 depending on grade and color. Exceptional high-grade red examples have produced sale results that surprise many owners. Not because they are common, but because so few survive in pristine condition. Here's where patient sellers sometimes discover unexpected income. They don't rush. They don't clean the coin. They don't polish it. Cleaning is one of the biggest mistakes owners make. Even a gentle wipe can permanently damage the surface and reduce collector demand. Another common mistake is improper storage, tossing copper cents into jars where they rub against each other, causing tiny scratches that lower grade potential. This is where many people get confused once more. Age alone does not create value. Preservation does. A bright, original 1955 D penny that sat untouched in a roll for decades may attract far more interest than one that circulated for years in pocket change. Collectors continue focusing on this date because it sits in the shadow of the famous 1955 double die. That attention keeps demand steady. And steady demand, combined with limited high-grade survivors, creates selective opportunity. Not for everyone, not for every coin, but for certain well-preserved examples, the results can feel like a life-changing sale result compared to face value. So what should you do? First, check the mint mark under the date. If there's a small D, you know it was struck in Denver. Next, Examine the surfaces carefully under good lighting. Look for strong detail in Lincoln's hair and the wheat lines. Avoid touching the surfaces with bare fingers. If the coin appears uncirculated and retains strong red color, it may be worth having evaluated by a reputable grading service. And remember, hidden financial potential isn't about hype. It's about knowledge and patience. Take your time. Compare your coin to certified examples. Learn how grading works. This is how quiet wealth discovery actually happens in the coin world. Not through guarantees, but through informed decisions. Before you dismiss that old jar of pennies, take a closer look at your 1955 D Lincoln cents. You may find nothing unusual, or you may uncover a small piece of American history with stronger collector demand than you expected. If you enjoy uncovering the stories and realistic values behind classic pennies, make sure to watch our next video on another Lincoln cent date that continues to surprise collectors. Because in coin collecting, knowledge and patience matter far more than speed, and sometimes the smallest details make the biggest difference. Welcome back. Imagine holding a small coin in your hand, the copper still glinting faintly after decades, seemingly ordinary at first glance. But what if I told you that this 1955 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, has quietly fascinated collectors for generations and, in certain verified cases, has sold for prices that turn casual curiosity into serious attention? Today, we're going to explore the story of the 1955 no mint mark Lincoln penny, the unique characteristics that make it noteworthy, and why it still holds hidden financial potential for those who know what to look for. The year 1955 was a pivotal moment in U.S. coinage. The Lincoln penny, first issued in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, had become a fixture in American life. By the mid-1950s, these pennies were still primarily struck in copper, with a modest design that seemed familiar to everyone. Yet, the 1955 issue holds a subtle distinction that collectors and savvy buyers watch closely: the plain D and S mint marks versus those without any mark at all. This is where many people get confused. Not every penny from 1955 without a mint mark is automatically valuable, but certain examples demonstrate the quiet wealth discovery potential that has captivated collectors for decades. The difference often lies in condition, die varieties, and subtle anomalies, details that aren't obvious to the casual observer. Let's talk about composition. These pennies were composed primarily of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving them the warm reddish tone that ages uniquely depending on storage. For collectors, the focus is on coins that retain original detail: sharp lines in Lincoln's hair, crisp lettering, and a clear date. This difference can completely change interest, moving a coin from a common circulated piece worth a few cents to a collector-worthy example that could command hundreds, or in rare certified cases, even more. Another detail collectors quietly watch is die variety. In 1955, some pennies display double dies, noticeable when the date or lettering appears to have a subtle shadow effect. While the famous 1955 double die cent is widely known, the no mint mark examples from that same year can have lesser-known die differences that serious collectors track. A single subtle variation can significantly impact how a coin is valued in the marketplace. Here's a point where patience matters. Many penny owners make the mistake of rushing to sell without verifying authenticity or grading. Circulated examples, even in nice condition, are often undervalued when compared to coins professionally graded by trusted certification services. The life-changing sale results for select examples usually come from coins that have been carefully preserved, graded, and presented to the right audience. This is where many people get confused. The presence of minor scratches, uneven toning, or slight edge nicks can reduce value, but not always dramatically. Understanding which imperfections matter most requires both patience and careful inspection. For collectors and sellers who take the time, discovering a coin with exceptional strike quality or a rare die characteristic can be a quiet financial revelation. Collectors also pay close attention to provenance. Coins that come from verified hoards, well-documented collections, or historical circulation records tend to attract more interest. While most 1955 no mint mark pennies will not fetch extraordinary sums, the subtle combinations of condition, die variety, and provenance create the hidden financial potential that makes this coin a lasting focus for collectors. Another key consideration is grading. Professional grading services evaluate factors like luster, wear, and strike, giving coins a rating from circulated to mint state. Even among uncirculated examples, slight differences in strike sharpness or surface quality can move a coin from a standard sale to a life-changing result for select examples. Here's a detail collectors quietly watch. A coin with unbroken hairlines on Lincoln's portrait and fully defined lettering is far more appealing than one with soft edges, even if both appear uncirculated to the untrained eye. Value ranges for 1955 no-mint mark pennies vary widely. Circulated coins may still be worth a few cents to a few dollars, depending on condition. Uncirculated examples in higher grades can command anywhere from tens to hundreds of dollars, and rare die varieties or exceptionally well-preserved specimens have historically seen sales that reflect true collector excitement. This difference can completely change interest, reminding us that careful study is as important as discovery. This is where many people get confused. Not every 1955 penny without a mint mark is rare or valuable, but attention to detail, checking the date carefully, examining edges, and noting the clarity of Lincoln's features, can reveal coins with hidden potential. Sellers who are patient and informed sometimes find unexpected income when their coin is appreciated by the right collector. As we approach the end of our exploration, it's worth remembering that knowledge and patience remain more powerful than speed. If you have a 1955 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, take the time to examine it carefully, consider professional grading if it appears exceptional, and learn about the subtle die variations that can impact value. The quiet financial potential may not be obvious at first glance, but for those who study and observe, these pennies continue to hold fascination and intrigue. Check your own collection carefully, compare coins to verified examples, and consider watching another video that dives deeper into Lincoln pennies with rare die varieties. Remember, in the world of coin collecting, informed patience often leads to the most rewarding discoveries, turning ordinary-looking pennies into stories of history, and in select cases, hidden financial potential. Welcome back. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that, at first glance, seems completely ordinary. Just a small, copper-colored circle, the kind most of us overlook in our change. But in the world of coin collectors, the 1958 D-Mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is anything but ordinary. Over the years, verified examples of certain 1958 D pennies have surfaced in collections and auctions, fetching prices that leave many casual owners astonished. While not every penny is a rare treasure, some examples carry a quiet financial potential that collectors have quietly celebrated for decades. The 1958 Lincoln penny was minted in Denver, indicated by the small D beneath the date. This was a period in American history marked by post-war growth, the rise of suburban life, and a renewed focus on everyday prosperity. Pennies from this era were struck with the familiar 95% copper, 5% tin and zinc composition, giving them the warmth and weight that collectors immediately recognize. While millions were minted, making many examples common, it's the subtle details, the quality of the strike, and the condition that separate ordinary pennies from those with life-changing sale results for select examples. This is where many people get confused. On the surface, all 1958 D pennies look similar. But the difference between a well-circulated coin and a near-perfect, uncirculated example can completely change interest from buyers. Collectors quietly watch the luster of the copper, the sharpness of Lincoln's profile, and even the small lines around the date. High-grade examples, especially those certified by reputable grading services, can command prices that reflect decades of careful preservation and patient collecting. Here's a detail collectors quietly watch. Some 1958 D pennies display faint doubling on the date or the word Liberty. These doubling varieties are subtle, often requiring magnification or close inspection under bright light, but they can add a layer of rarity that serious buyers find compelling. Another factor is strike quality. Coins struck with full detail in Lincoln's hair and the wheat stalks on the reverse are always in higher demand. Even small scratches, environmental wear, or cleaning can reduce value, which is why careful handling matters more than speed when assessing a collection. The value of a 1958 D penny can vary widely. Circulated examples in average condition are modestly priced, often a few dollars at most, which still makes them accessible for new collectors. But the rare, near-perfect examples, especially those graded MS-65 or higher, have sold for hundreds or even more in private sales and auctions. This difference can completely change interest, turning a coin you've had for decades into a hidden financial potential. It's also why patient sellers sometimes discover unexpected income. They don't rush the process and allow the market to recognize quality over quantity. Collectors also pay close attention to mistakes and varieties. Some 1958 D pennies may have die cracks, weak strikes, or even subtle doubling on Lincoln's face. These are not errors that always make a coin valuable, but in specific cases, they create life-changing sale results for select examples. Conversely, the most common mistake owners make is trying to clean or polish a coin, which can instantly strip away collector value. This is where experience and knowledge are crucial. Understanding what to leave untouched and what details to highlight can make all the difference. Now, consider this. Even among the most ordinary-looking coins, there's a quiet wealth discovery waiting for those who look closely. The 1958 D penny teaches a broader lesson in collecting. Value isn't just about rarity on paper. It's about condition, historical context, and careful observation. A circulated coin in your drawer might not fetch thousands, but a preserved example, certified and recognized, could very well surprise you. It's that subtle potential that keeps collectors engaged year after year. Here's another detail collectors quietly watch: the copper patina. Over decades, copper develops colors from deep brown to reddish orange. Coins that retain a natural, even tone are more desirable than those with uneven discoloration or spots. This is why professional grading services exist. They provide a reliable benchmark for buyers and sellers. Understanding these nuances separates casual curiosity from a serious, informed collection, and it's the patient attention to detail that creates life-changing sale results for select examples. As we wrap up, remember that checking your own pennies carefully is the first step toward uncovering potential value. Examine dates, mint marks, and overall condition. Even if you've held these coins for years, a fresh inspection with a magnifying lens could reveal details you never noticed. For those truly interested in the hidden financial potential of old pennies, learning and patience matter far more than rushing to sell. If you want to continue exploring the fascinating world of Lincoln pennies, watch our next video where we dive into another rare date and mint mark combination. Each coin tells a story, and with the 1958 D penny, that story includes history, subtle craftsmanship, and quiet wealth discovery, all waiting in a small, unassuming piece of copper. Take your time, look closely, and remember that knowledge, patience, and careful observation are the true keys to unlocking the extraordinary potential hidden in your own collection. This 1958 D Lincoln penny may appear ordinary, but for those who look closely, it holds a world of history and potential value, quietly reminding us that even everyday coins can hold life-changing surprises for the attentive collector.